Here with head women's basketball coach Michelle Bento-Jackson for the first one of the 23-24 year. Coach, thanks for joining us today. Official practice for basketball started last week, so how's the team looking for first week of practice going into the second week here?
Right. First, glad to be here because what that means, it's time for season. Well, prior to our first official practice, we obviously had whatever it was, 5 or 6 weeks of our preseason training, and which consisted of basketball stuff, of course, weights and conditioning, and I've just been really pleased with. In particular, we have a lot of new players, and just they've really set the tone just from a work ethic standpoint and a level of intensity that meet our expectations, and I think it's feeding through everybody, which has been really great to see. This first week of practice, there's a big learning curve right now. Again, we have a lot of new players, so a lot of teaching involved, a lot of learning, just trying to get everybody on the same page with certain things, but overall, I've been really pleased.
And just only having a couple seniors on the roster along with a lot of new faces, how is it kind of establishing leadership, I guess, within the team?
Right, and we're still kind of searching for that, but obviously the two seniors and Sarah and JC, they've been in the program for a year now, and not so much as they're seniors because it's really only their second year in the program. So yes, they are in their last year of eligibility, but it's usually after that first year in our program that players kind of just start to really figure things out as far as expectations and what our standards are, and JC and Sarah have both done a really good job of kind of sharing that with the others and getting them on board, so to speak, as what it is like on a day-to-day basis as far as the expectations. And they've done a tremendous job with that.
And maybe not as far as like an aha moment, but what have you seen from the people that are returning for their second year in the program that makes you be like, okay, I see it now?
Well, one thing, like I just said, not just Sarah and JC, but a couple others who have been in the program, not as much teaching, and now they're able to say things to the new players because they understand how things work, whether it be an offensive assignment or a defensive assignment. They just understand better. They're not so much in what I call thinking mode. It's more of a reaction for them now, and it's more instinctual rather than the new players are still in thinking because there is so much new information for them. But the returners have certainly done a great job in helping everybody get on board with that.
What are you kind of building up this time during practice with your new players and returning, and what kind of mentality do you want as a team going into the season, and also what are you just looking for on the court?
Well, just this preseason, of course, not only just getting ourselves physically in shape for this season, but we've spent a lot of time together. We've done a lot of team events, again, with a lot of new players, just really trying to build our chemistry both on and off the floor. As far as, we want toughness. I don't ever want an opponent to outwork us or out-tough us, and it sounds so generic and cliche, but there's a lot of things that we can do here in the preseason to try to instill that, and we have it in glimpses for sure, and now our goal is obviously just to become more consistent in that area.
Coach, one question I had for you kind of goes into obviously some new faces on the roster, but a lot of height this year. I noticed Renske is 6'2", let's see here, Ray Shanti's 5'10", a lot of 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot, 6'2" additions. Is that maybe a focus in the off season that you were trying to get taller, or what? That was something that popped out to me.
Right. Not so much taller, but we just haven't, the last couple of years, we just haven't had a lot of depth in our 4-5 position. I've always been one that doesn't get too wrapped up in height per se. It depends on what that 5'10" person gives you. So I don't get wrapped up in height, but I am happy with, we have a combination of different players this year that can play that 4-5 spot, and it has given us certainly more depth in those positions.
And when you're looking to add to your roster, what are traits or qualities that you're looking for?
I always say talented gym rats. Obviously, I'd be lying if I say we look for talent, of course, but we really went into this off season with this recruiting class just players that truly want to be in the gym and be dedicated to the game, work on their game, and try to be the best, along with just high character individuals, and players that are just going to be bought into being a part of a team and not an individual, and being bought into they want to be better basketball players. And I know that sounds like a given, or at least it should be, but that's not always the case. Some people come to college and they just get comfortable and they think, I've made it, I'm here, and they drop their shoulders and then they're not invested. And that was something that we wanted to make a priority with this recruiting class, and I feel like we accomplished that.
And I know you guys have been training for the last few weeks and now practicing for, this is the second week of practice. But what are some things you're looking to get done before your guys' exhibition against Davis?
Well, it'll be, obviously we won't have everything instilled yet before we play Davis, but, I feel like we're spending a little bit more time on certain things right now, which is okay. We're not moving very fast. But as much as sometimes I'm impatient, I want to make sure that what we have done so far, I want it to be real effective. So it may be a little bit slower of a pace than I would like to, or that we're accustomed to, but I don't look at that as a bad thing per se. I think everybody's just really getting used to things and really building their chemistry on the floor as well.
And for the training, is that mostly like work in the gym, rather like not basketball gym, I'm sorry, that was confusing, but rather than like actually being able to be out there running plays and get familiar with the offense and defense and stuff like that?
In the preseason? Is that what you're referring to?
In the training periods before practice started last week.
Right. It really was a combination of a lot of things. I mean, we did just running. I won't bore you with the rules, but there's only a certain number of hours that we can work with them with a basketball. So the hours that we were with them with the basketball, we did skill development things, we did some team practices, we started instilling some offense and defense, but we were really limited on our hours. So outside of that, we spent a lot of time conditioning and getting ourselves in physical shape, as we want to play at a fast pace, and also in the weight room.
Coach, one thing I also want to touch on, going back to like a roster and player, is there's only two athletes to my knowledge, I believe, at our school currently that are two-sport athletes. And one of them is Amelia Long, who's on your roster, who's also on the women's soccer team, and they're having a great start to their year, and she's second in the conference in goals scored, and she's really killing it.
Yeah.
What does that look like, I guess, from the basketball? Are you hoping that she brings like a lot of that over to the basketball court as well? I know basketball and soccer are two completely opposites. Like, you only use your feet, you can shoot, play defense. Are you hoping there's some translation or transition there that she can just kind of step onto the court if soccer does run deep into playoffs this season?
Right. Well, one thing that Amelia does bring, whether it's soccer or basketball, is her toughness. She's a grinder. She's one that gets a lot done. She's productive because of how hard she works. So those things I think are consistent. Even talking to the women's soccer coaches, they sense the same thing out on the soccer field, and that's something in recruiting her that we recognized early on at Peninsula College, where she played both basketball and soccer, was just, like I said, just her toughness. So that part I think is going to transition really well, and it's going to elevate our team. Obviously, she's going to be a little bit behind maybe from a skill standpoint and just learning what we're doing, but I'm really not concerned with that. I want her to focus right now on soccer, and as you said, they're having a tremendous year, and I hope they go as far as they can possibly go, but we're also very anxious to get her on the basketball court and start working with us as well.
I'm all good.
All right, awesome. Well, Coach, I'm sure we'll talk to you next week, and have a good rest of your week at practice.
All right, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.